that the quorum call be vitiated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, despite a little snow the last few weeks, spring is finally arriving in Minnesota. In fact, we had our fishing opener this weekend. And it's a kind of time of year when people start going up north. They have their cabins up there. It's not exactly extravagant, but that's their vacation places, and that's where they spend a lot of their summer. Well, a lot of my constituents have been calling our office saying they don't know if they can afford to go up north this summer. And worse than that, we've had many people who drive trucks for a living, who have long commutes to work, who are concerned about even keeping up with their jobs. And you can see why. The oil and gas prices have tripled since 2002. Minnesota, $3.49 per gallon. In the United States, $3.66 per gallon. You can see why the truckers are upset with diesel at $4.15 per gallon and oil at $122 per barrel. Mr. President, I have to pause for a moment to say that I have been coming to the Senate floor to address the price of oil for a number of weeks now, and it continues to astound me that every time I speak, the prices have gone up even more, and there appears to be no relief in sight. You look at the skyrocketing gas prices in Minnesota, where they've gone from about $2.90 up to $3.62 in just 3 months. This is astonishing, and it's even more astonishing that this administration continues to do nothing, that the attitude seems to be that this is what's happening, this is what the market says, when I believe there are things we can actually do, of course, in the long term, but also in the short term. I don't believe we can continue to do business as usual, Mr. President. I've heard from farmers who are having a hard time making ends meet, even with the high commodity prices, because the cost of their inputs, diesel fuel for their farm equipment, fertilizer made from natural gas, have spiraled out of control. I've heard from people who are just having a hard time heating their homes and going on with their lives. The high price of energy has inflated the price of everything from groceries to transportation to home heating. We just had a hearing in the Joint Economic Committee a few weeks ago about the price of food. And there were a number of factors at play there, including the low value of the dollar and the export market, including the weather, including some of the demand for biofuel, although that was put as a relatively small factor. But one thing that was mentioned time and time again was the cost of transportation. In cold northern states like Minnesota, when people have to pay off large heating bills, this is the time of year that they do it. Some of them put it off until now, and they're too afraid of thinking about paying their bills for next winter. Middle-class families are struggling with the high cost of health care and college education, and they can't afford the price of gas, especially in our rural areas. And you look at the fact that there just really hasn't been any wage increases, that their wages have been stagnant and in fact have been going down. You add that to the increasing expenses with the price of gas up about $1,000 or $2,000 a year, depending on how much you drive for a middle-class family, health care up something like $1,500 a year, appliances up, telephone service up. It comes to about $5,000 extra a year that the middle-class families are expending just in the last 8 years. Not a day goes by that I don't hear about this kind of struggle from my constituents, so it's hard for me to understand how our president seemed so taken aback recently when someone asked him about $4 a gallon gas. This was on February 28, 2008, not too long ago, and the president said, "You're predicting $4 a gallon gasoline. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that."